during your time at Georgetown, there was a time when somebody had hung a banner out a window with the word nigger on it, tell that nigger coach to go back where he came from, or words to that effect. And your concern was about the young people who may have seen that sign.
Well, and I think that it wasn't indicative of the university. You know, my biggest concern with something like that is that you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't, because first of all, everybody in the school, that didn't reflect their views of me, nor did it reflect their views of black folks. And generally, when something like that happens, you know, the mail, the words that were said to you, people tend to generalize and associate it with the entire institution, which would be unfair. So I minimized it as much as I possibly could. The other thing which was dangerous about that kind of action is the fact that if you're an African-American parent and you hear about things like that going on, you're going to be a little reluctant to send your child to the school. So recruiting was my lifeline. So you had to sort of minimize something like that.
Well, you know, a lot of people would love to believe that we have entered a post-racial era, but I do have to tell you that when Joel Wars scored the winning goal for the Capitals last night to eliminate the Boston Bruins, Boston Red Sox fans were throwing that nigger word all up and down tweets last night simply because he happened to be the one who scored to eliminate them from the playoffs.
Well, and, you know, I made a living in Boston, you know what I mean, and being with the Celtics. And that's the thing that bothers me when I see something like that, is the fact that that does not reflect the view of everybody. You know, it reflects the view of a few ignorant people who are still among us. And when something like that happens, you know, I have just as many friends that are white in Boston who are embarrassed about it or angry about it as I do friends that are black. But it rips the scab off. You reflect on what has happened to you in the past, and you say, my God, this still exists, this still happens. You know, here's a guy that scores the final goal for the Caps, and, you know, then you have to be faced with that kind of adversity. You talked about Larry Doby. Mm-hmm. Well, Larry Doby, when he came into the league, second to Jackie Robinson, he couldn't even get a baseball glove to play first base for him and his own teammates. He had to get it borrowed from the other team. He couldn't get anybody to warm up with him. But, okay, you said that was the sign of that time. But now when you hear this happening now, it's really disgusting because it reflects on people that it shouldn't reflect on in some instances.